What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, what's going on with the earnings that just came out, what you should be watching for on the share prices for all these different tickers. But before I break into doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks. And the offer ends very soon in just about 6 days from now. Anyways, for the market right now, we're seeing a little retracement during the pre-market for the time being, but things could change moving forward as we do have potential to bounce in the markets, continue to break all-time highs as technicals are continuing to look bullish. So I'm going to break down more information about this in just a couple of minutes. Let's first break down what's happening with the news. It's always important to know what's happening with the markets. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. At 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so right over here, we have some existing home sales data coming out. Could cause some volatility, but nothing too crazy in my opinion. The next pieces of data are right here at 11:30 a.m. We have the 17-week bill auction. At 1 p.m. we have the 20-year bond auction coming out. And at 2 p.m. we have the FOMC minutes. The most important piece of data is going to be the 2 p.m. FOMC minutes. Please remember that this is not necessarily an FOMC meeting, but it's simply just a report of what happened during the meeting, as we're going to get more insights from different Fed officials and what their opinions are. That's going to be important, so watch for volatility in the markets at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the most important piece of data coming out intraday, and we're going to be looking to see how it ends up affecting us. Please also note that today we also have, Nvidia's earnings over here. Nvidia's earnings is going to be today after the market ends up closing, so that's going to be very important as well. Before opening, we just had Target and TJ Maxx's earnings. I'll talk about those in just a minute before I start breaking down the charts. Let's first talk about this. What are the headlines saying about the markets? The S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite are once again hitting new all-time highs, climbing very, very strongly. Then we also have more news right here about how Pixar is laying off about 175 employees. There's news right here about how Google has announced it's allowing advertisers to promote with style, giving them the ability to use generative AI to create and use 3D images for their ads. So that's actually very, very useful, using AI for ads and such. Big developments from Google are being made. Then we also have some more news right over here about how Nestle is now eyeing is setting its eyes on a new market. Essentially, the food and beverage giant is launching the frozen food brand catered to basically, kind of incentivize certain people who use weight loss drugs to buy their new products. So that's actually going to be very useful as they have new products coming out for the frozen food market. So we'll see how things go with that. Besides that, we just have a couple of earnings just to talk about before I break down the charts. Before the market opened, we had Target and TJ Maxx just announced their earnings. Target is down a little bit because their earnings were not necessarily the best. You can see right over here, EPS was about $2.03 below expectations. Revenue is $24.53 billion above expectations, which is not bad whatsoever. But their EPS was a bit of a miss. They announced that they're cutting prices, so guidance is not as strong as before, and they're cutting prices to kind of offset the fact that they're missing on EPS, and their overall earnings are not as strong as before. So because of that, with the price cuts coming, that's part of the reason why the share price is down quite a bit. Earnings were not the strongest. For TJ Maxx, it's the same thing essentially. The share price is actually not as strong because of the fact that their guidance was kind of light. So their EPS was a beat. They actually beat better than expected. Revenue is also a beat right over here with 16.41 billion. But when it comes to their guidance, it came a little bit short of Wall Street's expectations. For the full year guidance, we're expecting EPS of 3.94 to 4.02 compared to the expectation of 3.88 to 4.4. This basically shows that their expectations are not as strong as what Wall Street's expecting. That's part of why the share price is not in the strongest of places right now. It's just kind of flat. As far as Tesla goes, there's a lot of news about them, getting attention from PepsiCo, and also they're going to start semi-production for 2026, aiming for 50,000 units annually. So with that being said, let's now talk about the charts. I went over the main pieces of news. How are things looking? My personal opinion. So for SPY, make sure you watch the support right over here at this 50 EMA. It's going to be kind of catching up to this 530 area. Then we have support at 529.5. If that fails us, we'll be watching these lows. If we break them, we would turn more bearish. We have resistance at 530.8, 531.5, 532.25, 533, and 534. I personally believe that SPY is going to try to base at this 530 area and then eventually start to push back to the all-time high. I think SPY could break this. I think we're going to be looking for a push for 532.25, if not 533. So I expect a little bounce that's going to be coming today. I expect that we could dip a little bit more, but I think we're going to rebound and start pushing. So I find that to be more probable for more highs. And the technicals still remain bullish as long as we're above our 50 EMA. So look for a bounce on SPY for all-time highs. Nvidia is also pushing to that 960 zone. I think we're going to be looking for a test of 960 to 965 to 970. We have support currently at 951 and 946. I expect this to actually push higher towards 965 to 970. So I look and anticipate a little bit more upside on the chart for now. It is favoring bulls, so that is looking a lot more interesting to me. For Tesla's dipped a little bit. What's interesting is our zero point 0.5 retracement happens to be at 182. The 0.618 retracement is at 180, and then the 0.786 is at 178. So I think that Tesla will bounce at one of those levels. We'll see if 182 holds. This could be where Tesla bounces off of. If we lose 182, we could actually get very close to 178 to 180, then bounce off that area. So I'll have to watch and see where we end up bottoming. But I think Tesla will bounce. It could even be right here. We just bounce from right here and start pushing them back up to 186 to fill our gap, or we go even higher to 188. So look for a bounce on Tesla's. Technicals are still looking pretty decent. So once again, we did get a retracement on Tesla. There is upside potential. Could we dip a little bit more? It is still possible before we try to bounce, but I do think that we're going to dip and bounce. So watch and see that bounce depending on where we end up bottoming. So if we hold 182, look for a rebound to 186. If we don't hold 182, we could dip a little bit more before we try to rebound back into the mid 180s. So watch and see where the bottom is. I still think Tesla will bounce. For Bitcoin, before I break down the QQQ and the others, we're currently shuffling near our 50 EMA. See on the hourly time frame, we're holding support right now. We have resistance currently at 70,000. I think Bitcoin is just shuffling and trading sideways and getting ready for a big move. So we'll see which way this breaks. If it loses 69,500, we're going to be dipping back down to about 69,000 flat. If it breaks past 70,000, I think we're going to be pushing all the way up towards almost 71,000. So I think that we're kind of range bound. Could be a bounce though, so I'll be watching that very, very carefully. For the QQQ, we're on a very, very nice uptrend right here. We're looking at 456 as resistance. If we break through this, we're going to be looking at 457 and 458. We have support currently at 455 and 454. I think that we could dip a bit and eventually start to bounce and break out even higher. So I think that the QQQ has more upside potential for new all-time highs, and 457 to 458 are strong possibilities. For Aapl, we're also looking a bit more bullish. Very, very nice uptrend right now. We have resistance at 192.5. I think Aapl could retrace towards 191 to 192, this zone right here, then try to bounce and start pushing for 193.5 and 194.4. Look for a dip and then a bounce on Aapl. With that being said, for a few more tickers, we'll be watching for a big move on Supermicro. So far, the technicals look a bit more bullish, so it could actually try to push a little higher. Might retest 901 and then bounce, start pushing for about 920 plus. We have a nice accumulation structure, so I do see some more upside potential. So in my opinion, I would say the chart looks more bullish. Coinbase is also looking a bit more bullish overall as we have a nice trend developing. It could actually tip a little bit more to retest this previous resistance, becoming support near our 50 EMA. So it could tip a little bit more towards like 223 or so, and then try to bounce back up to 230. I'll be watching for that. For Amazon, we're looking a bit more bullish. Going to be looking for a retest of 185. If that breaks, look for 187. And then we could actually hit at least 185, then shuffle. If we break it, then yes, 187 could come, but I do see a little bit more upside coming. For Meta, same thing, going to be looking for a test of 468. If this breaks, we're going to be looking for a bigger push to about 472. But look for a test of 468, some sideways price action. If we do break it, then we could go higher. AMC and GameStop are building some momentum. GME looks to me like it's, as long as it holds support at 20, if we could hold this support, then there's an inverse head and shoulders of structure to hit 24. If that breaks, we'll look for 30. If this inverse head and shoulders holds, so I'll be watching for that. If we end up losing 19, we turn back to bearish. We have a gap to fill down to 17. So watch and see if the inverse head and shoulders holds. Same thing on AMC. I think it might be testing 5 very soon and maybe try to break past 5. So I am seeing potential for a bounce. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. I think the market has more upside potential, and we'll watch and see our levels just to be safe. With that being said, I want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. Please have a great day, and I'll see you guys in just a couple of hours for the next update. Thank you, and peace out.